So we are going to talk about energy. Why? Because energy is the lifeblood of the global economy. But it's also fair to say that energy is frankly at a crossroads. And we want to explore this crossroad at the Global Cafe.
In reflecting on today's session around the growth potential of energy, it occurs to me that it's hard to find a time when energy hasn't been at the heart of the world's most pressing concerns. With respect to carbon management, we have the technology commercially available and deployed today to lower carbon emissions. Examples of this are supercritical combustion plants which burn coal at a higher temperature and pressure and it can achieve efficiencies whilst also reducing the amount of carbon dioxide per kilowatt hour. The leading examples that you see on the chart are in the US, Japan and China. Worldwide, supercritical technologies are in broad use, with more than 600 gigawatts of these plants in operation or under construction. In fact, since 2010, over half of all new coal-fueled generation is supercritical. One large supercritical plant can replace an older plant with the equivalent carbon reduction benefit of removing 1 million cars from the road. If we are serious about meeting energy demands, alleviating energy inequality, and improving emissions, supercritical and other advanced technologies should be the global coal generation standard.
The challenge for companies and for countries is that in order to accommodate another 2.5 billion people in the middle class, it is essential to improve productivity in the way that we produce resources and the way that we consume resources by something like 3 to 5% every year. This is after more than a century of only improving productivity by about 1% every year for the last 100 years. So a 3 to 5% a year is a major challenge. The opportunity that we have is in fact the ability to begin to combine information technology with industrial technology, and what we are seeing in industry after industry is that this combination can in fact deliver 10x productivity improvements, so easily meeting the 3 to 5% challenge. But it is incredibly disruptive to industries as this kind of change takes place.
Today I'm going to pose a challenge. How are we going to power the world in 2030? And how are we going to do it sustainably, efficiently, so that we can also supply the energy needs of the growing economies, but do it with a lower carbon footprint. And our ambition, and the G20's ambition, is to grow jobs and grow the economies. And in doing so, lifting people out of poverty. And it's the key challenge that is facing us. It's the key challenge that faces us in this room. It's the key challenge that is facing the G20 leaders. How do we do this while lowering our carbon that's going into the atmosphere as well? We need to do this for the world's population. We need to do it for our children. And I pose that this, in the next few days, in order to grow jobs, this is the big challenge that is facing our G20 leaders. How do they supply enough energy in 2030 to meet the world's needs and do so with a lower carbon footprint and lift people out of poverty? And I believe gas has a role to play in that.
Let's start with the big one. Just recently there was the release of the latest iteration of the IPCC report on climate change. Now it was, if anybody here is unaware, it was unequivocal, if you like, about the dangers and seriousness of the issues and the challenges confronting the world. And globally it said that there needs to be sustained reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. Now with all we've heard about increased productivity, getting more energy bang for your buck, and also the energy requirements of hundreds of millions of people living in poverty in this world, can we do it all? Can we also meet the energy demands of people?
Let's accept the IPCC report for what it is. Let's accept the science. And obviously there's some who are not in that position, but I'm going to say I'm going to accept the science. I firmly believe that absolutely it can be done. It is an extraordinary challenge, though, to go from where we are today to 2030 to increase the world's energy supply by 50%. It cannot be done with one of the levers on its own. It cannot be all renewables. It cannot be all coal, or all gas, or all oil, or all nuclear. It cannot be. It's how we intelligently pull each of those levers that is going to be critical to success.
I think technology is the key, and it's going to continue to require all of us, public, private, industry, to continue to work and invest on that regard. I think the technology solutions and roadmap is in part available today, so we can do more with what we currently have in the existing technologies, but I do think that future technologies to get towards zero emissions are something that we all need to work towards and together, and I think it can be achieved.
Leave us with a thought here for the audience about energy and what we've been talking about. So I'll start with you.
I go back to the basics. I think 2.5 billion people entering the middle class in the middle of a massive technological change. This is a massive opportunity, not a dark cloud day.
We need a balanced energy mix in order to achieve the economic growth objectives that we have, combined with the fact that we have an emerging middle class as we bring up the poor through into the developing world. But we can do it. We have the technology available today to do it and meet environmental objectives, but we still need to continue to work on that next generation of technologies in order to achieve that near carbon footprint.
Clearly, we need to provide particular electricity to those in the world who do not have it. And that strikes me as an ethical issue as much as anything else. The second thing we need to do is we need to honor the science as we go forward in making these decisions so that we can genuinely supply the energy that's going to be required in 2030. I think we've got to honor the science, not the emotion, in order to deliver that.